So this is a pretty long video of our Thanksgiving on Egret. We left, I believe, November 23rd. We came back 5 days later, November 27th. We left Windmill Harbor in Hilton Head early in the morning on the 23rd, and we got to Steamboat Creek about 4 o'clock that same day and had a great evening under the stars. Beautiful night, and this video here starts the morning after that. We're pulling up the anchor. Jerry's on the bow there to wash the chain off and wash the mud off as the chain comes up. The way I normally de-anchor is I use the windlass to pull the boat forward a little bit and cut it off and let the boat coast forward, and then pull a little more chain, the boat coast forward a little bit more, and so forth. What I found is that this keeps the boat from overrunning the chain, and you don't really have to use the throttle. You just let the windlass do a little work at a time. You're patient, and it all works out quite well. But this morning I was experimenting with letting the momentum of the boat coasting forward clean the mud off the chain. Normally use the engine to do that, but I thought maybe just the coasting forward will clean the chain, and you'll see here in a moment it worked pretty well. We got a little bit of mud on the bell filter. And you'll also look behind the windlass, you see a green towel. It's not easy to see here, but I'm using that to keep the runoff from the water on the chain, which is usually muddy, from getting down below the bell pulpit and running down both sides of the boat down the walkway. It's really a mess. It dries there and it's really hard to get off. So Jerry's being patient with me here. We're pulling the chain up, and I'll just let you listen here for a moment.
Yeah, I'm trying this instead. Yeah, we'll do that if we need
to. Yeah, so we have a washdown hose and pump that uses salt water that we normally use, and I'm seeing some clods of mud up on the bell pulpit, so I'm going to go down and get the hose for Jerry. We leave the pump off when we're not using it due to depressurized. You can't plug the washdown hose in if there's pressure on the system. So in a moment I'll go down and get it for Jerry, and maybe the last little bit of wash off.
Keep the water from getting out from under the towel.
Keep the towel flat so the water can't get under it.
How's it look?
Yeah, so the anchor really took a leak that time, but I really have to do that because
the little hose and we can hook it up and wash that mud off the
turning around the corner, if you stop, you'll end up tripping the breaker on the windlass. You need to keep some momentum on the windlass to get around the corner, and it works fine. It's been doing great for about a year. I used to trip the breaker about half the time. That is the way to do it. It doesn't hurt anything. A big surprise Jerry. So Jerry's gone back to get the hose from me. I handed it to him out the powerhouse door. And he'll plug that in, and then when he's ready, I'll go flip the switch on the breaker panel down in the powerhouse.
go.
All right, coming on. So I guess this isn't real interesting to most people, but to me this is a great outcome. Unfortunately, the camera's not low enough for you to really see the results, but nothing got beyond the towel. All of the muddy water stayed upstream of the towel, under the towel, and we just needed a little bit of washdown water to rinse the very edge of the bow pulpit, and didn't get any salt water of any consequence further back on the boat. And Jerry spraying the rail, but I didn't tell him not to. At any rate, keeping salt water off your boat is a great idea if you can, and we did pretty well this time. Thank you.
Filled most of it.
That's great. And maybe just take the towel and see if you can just kind of mop up.
Leave
And
this hooked up?
yeah, we can leave that hooked up now. We'll use it. We've finished de-anchoring now, and we're headed out of Steamboat Creek. In the distance, that's the South Edisto River, and I pulled the camera out of the mount and did a 360 to kind of show what our environment was like where we anchored. Really, absolutely beautiful. And here we are now on the South Edisto River. We're about to make our U-turn back towards the ICW, which is north of Steamboat Creek. If you kept going this direction, you would eventually dump out into the ocean at the inlet, which we've done numerous times. It's a great way to go offshore and go back south. When we kept the boat at dock, this as an alternative way to get home other than in a coaster. I'm guessing it's about 8:30 in the morning, and you'll see us do a slow U-turn here and head back up north towards the ICW, and we'll head on north up the waterway towards Clawson. I typically go no faster than I need to go to get no less than 4 miles per gallon. It's just kind of an arbitrary number, but it keeps the speed usually between 6 and 10 miles an hour, and I'm almost never in a hurry, so I just kind of let the currents and wind determine my speed, just endeavoring to get no less than 4 miles an hour. And if I'm running with the current, a lot of times I'll get 5 and 6 miles per gallon. I just go fast. I want the liver to slow down. Run usually between 1200 RPM and 1400 RPM. I think we were running with the current here, probably going about 9 or 10 miles an hour. Jerry's driving now, and we are in the Charleston Harbor. Over there on the left is Rainbow Road, the beautiful area right on the downtown area in Charleston. And then beyond there with the trees is the Battery in Charleston. And straight ahead would be Fort Sumter. You may see that shortly. Pretty windy out here that day, and sorry for all of the wind noise on the mic. Maybe I'll get a better mic to help that. But again, I can't say enough how great the weather was for this trip. This was just an absolutely halcyon day, beautiful, and I just couldn't help but turn the camera back on here to get some shots of going through the harbor. So I'll let you just kind of enjoy this. You'll see when you're around the Battery, I think you'll see the Ravenel Bridge, and we cross the harbor and head up the waterway opposite Sullivan's Island and Isle of Palms. Eventually we get to Louise Island and Shark Hole on the left, one of our favorite anchor spots opposite Louise Island, opposite on the other side of the waterway. Now we're on the ICW. I believe that's Isle of Palms on the right. We've already passed Sullivan's Island. On a summer day, this stretch of the waterway is swarming with boats, but today we only passed a handful of mostly center console boats, fishing boats. On the left is Goat Island. There's no power, I believe, still to Goat Island, although there have been numerous houses built over there. I think they all run on generators. And I'm not sure, but I don't know if there's, I don't think there's city water on the island, so to speak. I think you have to bring your own water. At any rate, it's somewhat roughing it over there. It's pretty nice, pretty raw and unspoiled, and a lot of people love it. It's a cool place, really. I'd like to rent a house over there one day. And then on the right, of course, you see the mega homes on Isle of Palms. Very close to the docks. Folks are very sensitive about your weights along here. We're going at a nice slow speed, so we won't bother anyone. coming up now on the Isle of Palms Marina. There's a restaurant up on the right there, and parking for your boat if you want to come to the restaurant, although it looks like just for small boats. I don't think our boat would fit. There's some face docks around the corner here that would probably work if we wanted to eat there. And as you can see, looking ahead, once you're by Isle of Palms, it becomes a beautiful, really wilderness on this part of the ICW. There's the harbor in there on the right, into the marina, and the huge area in there for boats, all wet slips for boats. So traveling up ahead, our next landmark you'll see on the right is Dewees Island. Dewees Island is a private island accessible only by boat or ferry, and I don't think it ever really caught on. It's inhabited by a fairly large number of houses, but there's a great deal of undeveloped lots, is my understanding, and I don't think the people around here ever really bought into an island that is not easily accessible. But it's a beautiful island. We stayed on Dewees Island maybe 20 years ago when they were first developing it, and considered buying a small lot there, but never did take it very far. But it's a beautiful place, very isolated. You look on the left, and that's the end of Goat Island, the island that's only accessible by boat. And now we're really entering my favorite part of this section of the ICW. It's, as I mentioned earlier, like a wilderness area, very unspoiled, undeveloped, with some spectacular views, almost endless marshes, Atlantic Ocean on the right. It's really very nice. Very little traffic here, as you can see, but this is off season. In the summer, this place would be racing with jet skis and lots of boats. But once you get pretty a little north of Isle of Palms, maybe 3 or 4 miles, we're not there yet, but once you get a few miles north of Isle of Palms, which we're just leaving, it becomes pretty isolated again. It's a beautiful part of the waterway. The Cape Romaine protected seashore and the Capers Island, also it's a state protected island, dominate this part of the waterway for many, many miles. And the next really populated area you get into is as you near Georgetown. So I've just really gravitated to this part of the waterway for many years. There's many nice anchorages as you go north. One that we frequently go to is a anchorage that's nicknamed Shark Hole, and we're almost there. It's opposite Dewey's Island, which is on your right. We're almost to the Dewey's Inlet. And Shark Hole is named that, I think, because as you enter on the left, the depth goes from, which is a normal depth in this area, maybe 20 or 30 feet, to nearly 80 feet deep. I guess it was scoured out by centuries of the tide coming in and out, but the locals have nicknamed it Shark Hole. I'm not sure if there are many sharks there, but it is a deep, deep portion. And it's a great place to anchor. And we're almost there. If you'll look left, you'll see a little inlet on the left. And you snake up in there and then go a little bit to the right. And it's a beautiful anchorage. You can stay there for days and enjoy the gorgeous views in the surrounding area. So I won't do any more talking. If you'd like to watch the rest of this, please feel free. The remainder of this trip is just a beautiful trip up towards Cape Romaine and Capers Island. You won't see many landmarks at all from here on out, other than the green and red markers. But I enjoy this trip immensely every time I go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate your involvement in this. We ended up anchoring opposite Capers Island for Thanksgiving proper, and had a wonderful night there. Judi and Jerry had brought a full Thanksgiving dinner, which we thoroughly enjoyed. And after a peaceful night at our anchorage, we turned around and came back this same way home. So we headed on up north towards Capers Island. We tried really hard to get into Capers. I really like that anchorage, but the inlet seems to have silted in since the hurricane. I had been in there quite a number of times with my old boat and knew the way in, and the in going was fine, but once we got into the inlet itself, it was quite shallow, and this was at high tide. So we ended up deciding to not stay the night there because the next high tide was going to be early in the morning in the dark when we really couldn't get out safely. So we did a 180 and carefully made our way back out of the Capers Inlet and went across the waterway to Clawson's Creek, which it turns out is a very serene and beautiful anchorage where we got anchored up. And here's some video of us in the creek itself. Had a great evening there, and Judi and Jerry presented a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner. They had brought all of the fixings, and it was just a great spot. So after we pulled anchor in the morning, we headed on back south, retracing our route home. No issues, got back. I think it was a great trip. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you next time on the water.